Alright, what's up everybody? It's DGL again here, and let's continue on with my recent Rapid games. So this is the second game I'd like to share with you guys. My opponent was pretty high rated and from Armenia, if I remember correctly. So yeah, let's see what happened. I was black, and my opponent opened up with 1e4. Alright. I played e5, my most common response, and he played the King's Gambit. Alright. So I've played a lot of openings against the King's Gambit. I think yeah, it suits my style, you could say. I kind of like playing the King's Gambit and against it. It's pretty fun. A lot of interesting openings. And I played Knight C6. Okay. And my opponent played Knight F3 and F5. So this is the starting position of, well, from what I could find, it doesn't really have a concrete name, but from what I found, it's the Miles defense. Tony Miles, I assume. But yeah. I did a bit of digging into the name, and I couldn't really come up with a concrete name, but it appears to be the Miles, and so we'll just go with that. Alright, F5. He took on F5. And E4. So yeah, a lot of, there's a reason this opening isn't played so much, but I think it's playable enough, and especially in a 15-minute game. Knight E5 and Knight F6. Of course, don't want to allow any checks here. Alright, so he played Knight G4, which is a really mysterious move, moving the knight again. I mean, it was perfectly okay here on E5. And it's always a bit, yeah, out of 6 moves played by white, 3 of them have been knight moves, so, I don't know. Okay, let's carry on. So Knight G4, I mean, nothing seriously bad has happened, but alright. I played D5, alright, simple chess, just strengthening my center. Bishop B5, and I grabbed the pawn.
Check.
And he took on C6, unprovoked. So yeah, okay. I of course recaptured.
Check.
He took on F6, and I took on recaptured. I should say. All right. So after here, he just castled.
Check.
I gave the check. He played King H1. Of course, if he plays D4, I can just take en passant. Very important. So King H1. I just castled. C3. Yeah, this move is a bit mysterious because if white ever plays d4, I'll just take en passant. For example, I don't know if I play rook here, d4, I take en passant, and I have a really strong pawn here. Yeah. So, with that said, I don't know, c3 is really accomplishing much. Yeah, it's taking away squares from the knight, and it's really hard to push this d-pawn and get the bishop out. But okay, let's continue on. I played queen g6. I was simply intending bishop g4 here. And b4. Alright. I just dropped back to d6, tickling f4 pawn a bit. And queen e1. Alright. Maybe anticipating my bishop g4 idea. I just played rook a e8. Okay, simple chess, getting all my pieces in play. And queen g3. And I was really tempted at first just to grab the queen and go into the endgame, which looks really, really nice for me. I have a really good lead in development, I have a good center, etc., etc., but, yeah, I was looking at white's queen side, and a lot of pieces aren't developed, and so I was smelling blood and wanted to go for the king. I just played queen h5. Now, the reason that queen takes g3 was a bit more maybe appealing in some senses was I was rather expecting queen g5 here. For example, queen g5, queen f7, and I was intending bishop e7 here, and rook e6 to g6, etc. But yeah, it seemed a bit annoying. It seemed like white was sort of stalling my play a bit, but maybe it was okay. Anyway, my opponent just played bishop b2. Alright, trying to get pieces out. It certainly makes a lot of sense. But at the moment, the bishop isn't really looking at much. Okay, so rook e6. Alright, just intending to use the rook on the 6th rank. And knight a3. Okay, maybe intending this idea. Or such, or maybe even to e3. Who knows? Alright. And rook g6. Okay. So the king had, or not the king, the queen had to move, of course. and then rook, yeah, the other rook up to f6. And my opponent played c4. Alright, so it makes sense, trying to open up the bishop on this nice diagonal, trying to activate pieces a bit. But okay, I had a nice idea, I think, for this, and I played rook h6. Alright, so simple chess again. I'm just threatening mate on h2. Alright, so this has to be defended with queen g1. Alright, so, and I played the nice shot, bishop takes b4, simply leaving the rook in pre. And yeah, after bishop takes b4, white probably needs to play knight c2 for reasons which will be a bit clearer in a second. Alright, so white just grabbed the rook, which makes okay, sense in one way. White is grabbing material. Maybe white was thinking I was going to grab on a3 here, but in fact I have a really nice move here with bishop c5, trying to deflect the queen away from h2. And remember earlier when I said knight c2 was needed? Well, yeah, with knight c2, imagine if that was played, then the bishop that was here could go to d4 and block this diagonal and recapture with a knight. Alright, but after bishop c5, there's not a lot of options. Let's say the bishop goes back trying to block. I can just take it. This queen can't recapture because it has to watch h2 because of the mate threat, or yeah, the constant threat of mate, so to say. Also, rook f2, I can just take it, and if the queen moves anywhere here or grabs the bishop, I just take on h2 with mate, and so in other words, I'll take the queen next move and look pretty good. Anyway, after bishop c5, I think white noticed what happened and just retreated the bishop, and I of course grabbed the queen, the king took, and
check,
I grabbed on h2, king f2, and I played the human move. Yeah, notice I say human move, bishop g4, just trying to stop the king from escaping a bit. Also preparing queen f4 with a bit more of oomph, or a bit more power, you could say. Instead of bishop g4, which is what I played, the computer spots an almost instant win, you could say. Yeah, probably a quicker win, I should say. And alright, with rook h3, which is actually threatening a mate in 6. So let's say white plays a nothing move. Let's say c5, just to illustrate the threat. Black would have
check,
queen g3, king e2, bishop
check,
g4, rook f3, bishop
check,
takes, and king e3, and bishop takes
check,
g2, king e2, queen
check,
f3, queen e or king e1, and
checkmate,
rook h1 would be mate. So that's the threat. Let me back up a second here. So that's the threat white needs to face. Yeah, another sample line after rook h3. Let's say, yeah, let's say knight c2, for instance. Rook f3,
check,
then, yeah, king e1, queen takes g2, rook takes f3, e takes f3, king d1, and yeah, queen
check,
d1, knight back, f2, and if d3, you can even promote to another queen. So yeah, it's obviously mighty fine. So that's another nice line. Okay, but, as I mentioned before, I played probably the bit more human move, I would like to think, bishop g4, which is still perfectly winning and another top choice by the computer. Alright, so the king went to e3. Um, I
check,
played queen g3 check, which is, of course, perfectly human. The, yeah, another possible move was c5. Yeah. If, takes on d5, I
check,
have rook h3. If takes, then I have queen e2. Alright, so So after rook h3, king f2 is an idea. And then rook
Check.
f3, king e1 takes.
Friend departed.
Aw, friend departed. That's pretty sad. Okay, alright, queen takes g2, and then just simply taking and taking. It's not so great for white, obviously a lot of mate threats, and it's hard to parry them all. Alright, so, yeah. Other options after c5, if, for instance, rook g1, that runs into,
Checkmate.
mate. Also, if, let's say, rook a to, b1, then, yeah, doesn't look so pretty, does it? Probably, takes on g2, of course, with the threat of, queen here. Let's say the rook tries to stop mate. Then, rook h3.
Check. Checkmate.
It's mate. And the computer line going all cause, yeah,
Check.
would be rook here, check. Yeah, king f8,
Check.
takes,
Check.
and just giving up all material. And then, yeah, f5, and you could play
Check.
queen g3 and mates. So maybe c5 was another quicker win, but what I played is perfectly fine.
Check.
Queen g3, okay, the king had to go
Check.
up, and queen d3 check. King went to c5. I played d4. Okay, I'm just threatening the bishop. Bishop b4. And now...
Check.
Okay, check first. I'm getting ahead of myself. Check, okay, forcing the capture. And now the nice move, e3. Okay, so maybe in a practical sense or abstract view, I'm threatening e2. But I'm also having a bit of a sneakier idea. He took,
Check.
and I played queen g6. Okay. He played king b7,
Check.
queen b6, and the king had to go to the corner. And now I played a move and white resigned. And the move was bishop c8. My opponent resigned as there is no good way to meet the threat of queen b7 checkmate. So yeah, white resigned here in this position. So I think it was a really nice game. I think that was yeah, good stuff. It was fun to play. And I think he got revenge on me in the next few games, and we had some good words afterwards, if I remember correctly, and it was all good fun. Anyway, that was the second game, and I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got something out of it, and I'll see you guys around. Thanks, bye, and see ya.